Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to check out Topeka Collegiate's Winter Open House Virtual Edition, specifically to talk about pre-kindergarten at Topeka Collegiate. Whether you're interested in pre-kindergarten for January 2021, so joining us in the spring semester just around the corner, or whether you're interested in fall 2021, we wanted to give you an overview, and then if you have any questions, you're welcome to reach out and we can schedule one-on-ones and make sure you get your questions answered. Before I get too far along though, I do want to say I'm Brittany Crabtree, Director of Communications and Admissions at Topeka Collegiate, and with me today we have our pre-kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Rippel. We have the Bremers, a current Topeka Collegiate family, because in truth, I know parents want to talk to parents, and we want to make sure that happened. And then we also have our head of school, Dr. Lynn Rance. We don't want this to be too formal, so we're going to kind of pop back and forth, and we're also going to try to make it quick. But we wanted you to have this available at your fingertips to watch anytime. Before I go to the next slide, Mrs. Rippel, could you just share quickly what's happening in this photo? It's such a great photo.
Well, our student is working in the science center in my classroom, and I have 4 or 5 different learning centers arranged that they can choose from during a choice time or center's time. And so that is to provide them with social learning time. We can also have autonomy, have independence on what we are choosing to do, and also the responsibility of cleaning those materials up after we're done. So this is a science center. We also have dramatic play, which is like more of a home center, and blocks and toys center, and also a literacy center. So they have dry erase boards and chalk and things that they can build words with.
Awesome. And here's another excellent photo. This looks like so much fun. What's happening in this photo?
So this is a fun sensory experience called shaving cream on a table. Eddie is working with shaving cream to create letters. We were practicing writing our names this day, but we also use this activity and ones like this to provide experiences in writing that are not necessarily just a piece of paper and a pencil or a crayon. So lots of different ways to build that those fine motor muscles and also keep them interested in what we're doing.
It's so great to start out with photos like these, because I know parents want to get in the building and tour and see students learning in the classroom, and these photos help capture that, since we don't have any non-essential visitors in our building. And it probably is a good time for me to pause and say, as you can see, this student doesn't have a mask on. This photo was taken last year, and you will see a number of photos with masks on, because we do have a mask requirement for all students this year. Let's see what's on the next slide. Oh, that's me. So here's my contact information. If you have any follow-up questions to this overview, I hope you'll reach out. And at the end of this PowerPoint, we'll be sure to share this contact info again. So there are some things I'd like to cover on a broader level about Topeka Collegiate before we dive deeper into pre-K. First of all, Topeka Collegiate has families from 14 different zip codes. It's really incredibly diverse geographically, socioeconomically, racially, religions. It's a wonderful place to be, where we all learn from one another and share. And it's small enough that teachers know students' names across the grade levels, and students know students' names across the grade levels. Mrs. Rippel was just telling me about the pre-K students. Will you tell me again what happens when they go by the 8th grade lockers?
Yes, so when our class goes all the way down to the gym, it's on the opposite end of the school building from where we are. They get to walk past all of the students that are in different grade levels. And the 8th graders, I believe, have their lockers right next to the gym. And at the beginning of the year, they're all, oh, they're so little, and just cooing about how adorable my students are, which they are. But by the end of the school year, they're just saying, oh, hey, Eddie, how you doing? You know, they're just engaged with each other, and they get to know each other through the programs and the traditions that we have throughout the year. And it's really awesome to see, and to see that pre-K student saying, yeah, that he knows my name. That's an 8th grader. It's cool.
That's great. There's just something different when families choose Topeka Collegiate and Topeka Collegiate chooses them. That mutual choice together makes it such a strong community. So something else that makes Topeka Collegiate unique for this region is we're the only independent school. And here in a little bit, our head of school will talk about really what it means to be an independent school. But often I will say on tours, it means we're not teaching to the test, to standardized testing. There's a lot of customizing of curriculum to adjust the pace to what students need and their interests. And that's something we can do as an independent school. We get no outside state or federal or religious funding. We truly exist because families choose to be here. So in this photo, this is our academic dean, Mr. Flax, having a lot of fun covering the character trait of kindness. We cover a different character trait every month. And this was last year, no masks on. And you can see the students are really engaged. To give you an idea of our size, we have 153 students this year, 48 teachers and staff. And in this picture, you'll see a first grade teacher taking a photo with a kindergartner, so talking about the teachers and students knowing each other across grade levels. And they are both dressed up for Themed Thursday, which is another way that we created some fun and silliness and costumes during this pandemic to just help bring us together. Is some great costumes here.
Yeah, and the kids at home get to participate too. So that was really a fun part of it, is being able to see students on the computer dressed up as well.
Yes, it gives them a way to feel like they're a part of the action to wear their costumes on the screen. Great point. So another thing that makes us stand out as a school is that we have 6 resource classes, sometimes called specials classes, that all of our students go to starting in pre-kindergarten. So in my mind, they're like little middle schoolers going class to class. Some of this has been adjusted this year for safety. We'll talk about precautions in a minute. So some teachers are coming to the classroom. It just depends on the resource class on what the best solution is. But just so you know, every student, including our pre-kindergartners, go to art, music, PE, science, Spanish, and technology. So they get to go to a specialized teacher who's passionate about what they teach, and it makes a big difference. So I think in this picture, we have Mrs. Siebert and Mrs. Rippel. Do you remember what was happening on this day?
I remember they were modulating their voices. So there was like a big something that was eating a little something, and it was quite adorable.
Awesome. So a moment ago, I was talking about precautions. At Topeka Collegiate, our approach to a safe school year this year is called the Eagles 360 program. And no matter where the students are learning, we want to make sure that we are keeping them healthy and safe, that they're continuing to learn, and that we're educating the whole child. Again, I think this is something our head of school will be getting into in a little bit, but I just wanted to pause here and say students are washing their hands hourly, they're wearing masks, we are socially distancing. We've got a number of precautions in place under this theme of freedom with responsibility. And all of our students and all of our staff have taken a pledge to protect one another through these precautions. And if you have specific questions about the Eagles 360 program, please reach out. We've got a lot of information we can provide you with, but I will leave it at that for now so we can talk more about pre-K. So big picture enrollment this year, we increased by nearly 10%, a lot of interest. We do have some full classrooms. We opened a second first grade classroom to make sure that we kept our classes small. We're known for smaller classrooms, and that's important to us for that tailored education. It is worth noting that we have a smaller pre-kindergarten class this year, so just 5 students, and we're looking to grow that in January. And typically we have closer to 12 to 14 students in pre-K, and that might be what we can expect in fall 2021. And our spring semester does begin January 5th. So just a few highlights here. We did get some news coverage earlier this fall as we were opening on campus. We were on campus for 13 weeks successfully and safely. We did choose to move to a modified distance learning in December, and we plan to be back on campus January 5th. I include this slide just to share with you that we have the option for any family to move to distance learning at any time with just 3 days notice. You can switch back home to distance learning, you can switch back on campus, and that's when we're all on campus. Right now, just our pre-K kindergarten and first graders are on campus in December. As we knew, it can be tough for those youngest learners to learn online. And so they're on campus in the mornings and they have their specials in the afternoons. But again, specific questions about schedules, please send me an email. I also shared this article because it gives us a chance to transition to our head of school, Dr. Rance. I love this quote, wearing masks and taking temperatures. We all take temperatures and we have staggered start times, but wearing masks and taking temperatures can't dampen the joy that we have having students in the building. We are committed to being on campus as much as possible this year. As you can see here, Dr. Rance says, these are memories they'll never forget. And we keep that in mind as a school. So I'd actually like to turn it over to you, Dr. Rance, to share more about our mission and traditions and what makes us unique as an independent school.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm very glad to be here and be able to share a few things with you that make our school so unique and so memorable and impactful. Topeka Collegiate has been in existence for 38 years. We're nearing our 40th birthday. And we have a beautiful campus, 8 acres, where we have a small community. And we intentionally keep it small because we know in order to hit our mission and really deliver on our promise, we have small class sizes where teachers and students really develop strong relationships, and those relationships extend then to the families. We really are a school community, and it's just an amazing place to be. I did want to read to you what our mission actually is, because I think it kind of helps set the tone for everything that we do, and our programs and our values really drive what we try and do every day. Our mission is to prepare students for advanced education, successful careers, and responsible citizenship through a commitment to academic excellence and humanitarian ideals. And I have 3 kids of my own, and I remember when I was making decisions about where to take my children for pre-kindergarten and kindergarten, and I will tell you, I don't think I was thinking too much about their career or their advanced education of what honors and advanced placement classes they'll have or through college, because at that age, you really do want to find a place where your child can be known and loved and really be celebrated for who they are. And so my conversation with pre-kindergarten parents really is very simple. If you want your child to really be understood and for teachers to be able to bring out the very best in them and bring out their full potential, this is the type of school that will work for you. We are independent for a reason. We deliberately choose our curriculum and our programming. We deliberately stay small so that our kids can have that enrichment in every class through all their classes throughout their day and throughout their years. We have so many families that come in pre-kindergarten and end up staying because they just understand the value that early education can have on a child. And it really does set the foundation for what they experience as they go through lower school, middle school, high school, college, and beyond. So the mission of Topeka Collegiate can really be summed up pretty well in our tagline, and it's limitless learning potential. And I see Brittany put that on the screen here. And that really is pretty spot on to what our teachers are trying to do and what we all collectively do, and the parents, what we do all together, is we really see a limitless learning potential in each of our students. And we have a vast number of alumni that speak to the success of our school and a vast tradition for beyond the book experiences and academic experiences that help each kid just feel so known and celebrated. And I will finish with what I say. There's a phrase I use a lot, and what I feel like is our goal for kids as they go through the year is we want each of them at their age, at their appropriate maturity level, to be confidently challenged. We want them to be confident, critical thinkers, communicators, but challenged so that they grow and they love learning. And I will tell you, when students graduate from collegiate and go on to high school, they still have a passion for learning and they want to know more. They're naturally curious. And that's something we instill in them because we have the very best teachers that allow them to teach with freedom and support. So again, I would, as Brittany said, I would encourage you to give me a call at any time. When times are different, I would love all of our community members that are interested to come in, and I would be happy to meet with you and take a tour and show you for yourself the uniqueness that is Topeka Collegiate. So thank you for joining us tonight, and I appreciate all of your interest, and we hope to see you soon. Thank you, Brittany.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Rance. It reminds me of how last year we actually had a high school student who has friends who graduated from Topeka Collegiate. So a high school, I think this was a sophomore, whose friends graduated from Topeka Collegiate, and he noticed how much more ready they were for high school. Their critical thinking, their ability to do homework and stay organized and on top of things. And I know we're talking about pre-K right now, but I think this story really captures why Topeka Collegiate makes a difference cumulatively year over year, because this high school student came to Topeka Collegiate and said, how do I get my little sister to go here? Because I can see, he wasn't an alum, but he saw it in his friends and he wanted that for his little sister. And I think that's another just way to kind of capture what makes Topeka Collegiate unique, just that critical thinking skills and being ready for the next stage. We're a nurturing place, just pre-K through 8, and then they have stronger footing for the future. Right. So I'd like to introduce you now to Mrs. Rippel. She has 7 years of early childhood experience, 2 years of literacy coaching. She taught pre-K at Countryside United Methodist Church Preschool. She also served as an early care and education specialist for Child Care Aware of Eastern Kansas. So she knows a lot of the rock star pre-K individuals in town, and she is certainly one of them. And we're so lucky to have her at Topeka Collegiate. And I know you're going to enjoy hearing from her, but I want to say one more thing before I hand it to you, Mrs. Rippel. This is the quote you gave us when you came to Topeka Collegiate, sharing that your favorite part about teaching pre-K is the originality which young humans approach life. It never fails. She presents them with opportunities and they reciprocate tenfold. It just shows that when somebody's getting as much out of that experience with children as they're giving, as Mrs. Rippel does, it just makes the learning that much more fun for everybody. So I'll stop here. Mrs. Rippel, could you talk more about your approach to pre-kindergarten? We're just going to pretend to pop into your classroom on a tour right now.
Awesome. Well, glad to have you. Welcome. So just along with that quote, the first thing that the children teach me is how they can best learn what they're interested in and just everything that they are ready to teach me. And that really helps me set the tone for the rest of the year and kind of form the curriculum around each individual student, and kind of take some fun little detours into things that they are interested in. And I just love having that freedom as an educator here at Topeka Collegiate. So one of the main parts of my teaching philosophy is that I want to be able to teach the children how to regulate themselves. I'm not in control of them. I'm not going to try to control these children. I want to teach them how to be able to control themselves. And that's part of meeting them where they are. And we're gonna, maybe the first few weeks, try to sit and work on something together for a short period of time and try for a little bit longer tomorrow. And maybe we'll pull in some different things that they're interested in and just kind of find our way together. And so self-regulation, independence, responsibility, communication with one another, whether it's from me to the students or between peers, those are all very integral into what I try to do here in the classroom. One of the helper jobs that I have the students choose, they have the choice of choosing, is the problem solver. So if there is a conflict that arises in a center while we're playing, or even on the playground, the problem solver would go over and try to help kind of mediate those interactions. And so they're getting that experience of being able to see things from other people's perspectives and also be a part of that problem solving activity and engagement. I want to provide them with opportunities to play, opportunities to create, opportunities to be challenged, because I think a lot of the behavior issues that we may see arise can come from either A, not grasping the curriculum quite fluidly, and or B, not being challenged by the curriculum appropriately. So making sure that we're continually still pushing and moving in the same direction, or at least in a similar direction, and being able to build their social toolbox is the other huge piece of what I try to do here in the classroom. Because I feel like if they have that piece, moving to the next slide. Good job, Brittany. So Mrs. Crabtree. So that social learning, I really feel, is the foundation all of the rest of it is built on. So they can absorb so much if we just have that piece in place to make sure that they can communicate well with their peers and with their teachers, and to be able to solve problems and be able to seek out help if they need to. So that light bulb, if you can pop back for just a moment. Thank you, Mrs. Crabtree. So the first piece of that is our theme studies. And I talked earlier about providing them with activities that they're interested in. We have a theme study every week. So last week we had L is for lizards. So it's usually tied to a letter. And so last week, I could just give them a bunch of construction paper items to glue together, which is great. You can get to work with their fine motor skills that way. But we also built into kind of higher order thinking skills with learning about Venn diagrams and being able to compare and contrast amphibians and reptiles and being a part of putting that graph together. Get Set for Success is our handwriting curriculum, and that is through Handwriting Without Tears, and it's their pre-K program. And this is actually the program that I coached with over at Child Care Aware of Eastern Kansas, and so I have big hearts for this one. It's a really interactive curriculum that allows them to build their fine motor skills and their awareness of how letters take shape without really even realizing that that's what they're doing. And on the next slide, Brittany, you had kind of previewed us with Sophia, and she was very proud of making her name on the carpet. And so these very basic pieces, wood pieces, work together to build things, specifically Matt Man. He's kind of a stick figure man that they can put together. And then that also helps them learn how to draw people, which is crucial in letter writing. But she put together all of her pieces here and spelled her name, and that was unprompted. So she, of course, wanted a photo op with that. So, and then we also have zoophonics as part of our curriculum. So that involves music and movement and zoo animals to help nail down that zoophonic learning and development. And then we have everyday mathematics. So that's also very manipulative, very hands-on and game-based learning that we do. And all of those items get addressed every day. So theme studies, handwriting, phonics, everyday math, that's every day. And then woven into everything that we're doing is that social learning. And so they get those core curriculum pieces on top of all of those specials classes every week. So there's a lot that goes into every day, but we keep them very busy, keep them learning, keep them transitioning from activity to activity, and we wear them out by the end of the day, and I think that's a good thing. A good wearing out.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. I really love this format of sharing. I think an in-person tour is awesome, but also hearing you talk through how it all builds on one another is so interesting, Mrs. Ripple. One question I'll ask, and then maybe Dr. Rance has a question too, is, oh shoot, I hope I don't forget my question. You go first, Dr. Rance.
Well, I was going to mention that you do wear them out and they get rest time in the afternoons.
That's true. We do have a half-hour rest time that's actually 45 minutes. So they do a half hour of quiet time on rest mats, and then 15 minutes for those students that need that extra 15 minutes, say if they're already sleeping. And then if students are not resting by that time, they get a quiet activity that they can solve at their table or their mats. So that is very nice for those students that kind of just need that regroup and that calming meditative moment.
Yeah.
Yes, I know that's one of the top questions we get asked is there still rest time? Yes, there is. There's also recess. Is it 3 times a day in a typical school?
3 times a day. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. We build in a lot of good stuff, but I think the piece that makes it all work is that nothing is longer than 20 minutes, because that's kind of the ideal time at this developmental level. So I'm not going to ask them to ask anything from their own bodies that they're not ready to do. They're not ready to sit for much longer than that. They're not, it's just not developmentally appropriate for me to ask them to sit and work on something for a long period of time. So those recesses and rest times really help cut up the day and keep things going like lickety split. I can't believe it when we make it to the end of the day, because it's just gone by so quickly.
And this year, another schedule thing I'll mention is that lunch is being brought to the classroom when we're on campus full days, and that you've set up some Zoom chats between parents and students, since typically we would have parents joining them for lunch in the building. That's one way that you've adapted this year. I think that's pretty cool too. Wanted to mention it.
Thank you. Yeah, we have a great time with that. So one parent actually brought a storybook too the other day.
Oh, really? Well, okay. Well, I forgot. We have this photo too. Well, so will you say what's happening in this photo before we turn it over to the Bremers?
Sure. This is a distance learner, and we involve all our learners in everything we do. And so the students wanted to really involve him in their play. And so here he's playing in blocks, and he's right in the middle of all the action on top of a support that they built for him. So I just thought that was sweet and worth capturing. And so we're very much a family here.
There's something about his face. I just feel like he is loving being the center of the blocks. I don't know. Love it. All right. Well, like I said, we do have current Topeka Collegiate parents here on the call, because you can hear from us all day long, but there's nothing like hearing from current parents. And so I'd like to introduce you to the Bremers in this wonderful family photo. Today we have Taylor and Derek, who are just going to share a little bit about their experience at Topeka Collegiate. They have a 3rd grader and a kindergartner, and as you can see, there may be a future pre-kindergartner. So I'll turn it over to you just to share what would you want parents to hear on this overview call today?
I think the biggest thing is what you guys have all talked about. What drew us to Topeka Collegiate was really the independent school, where you guys are able to really design the curriculum. It's not state-based, it's not federal-based. So you guys are able to do that individualized learning for each student and whatever works for them. What really drew us was, I have a background in mental health, so social emotional learning is huge for me. I think that it is the foundation for having healthy kids grow up to be healthy adults. And that is something that you guys focus on. And we see it with both of our children. Fallon was very shy and timid, and we brought her to Topeka Collegiate, and she's just grown. She challenges herself. She's very outgoing. She's able to advocate for herself, whereas those were things that we really struggled with for her when she was a lot younger. And if we could go back, we would have brought her to pre-K like we did with Ireland, because again, with Ireland, we just saw so much growth throughout the time that she was there. She doesn't like hugs, and we saw her hugging Miss Rippel all of the time pre-COVID. And so it was amazing to see how much our children have grown. And we do believe it's because you guys just have that foundation of the social emotional, and then it builds on top of their academics. So it is very important to us.
Well, you are certainly important to us too, and we're so glad you're here today to share those firsthand experiences. And like you said, the thinking behind one child coming earlier than another, for example, that's helpful to hear. So 2 questions for you that when we were thinking of what parents might want to hear from you. So the first one is, was there a moment that you knew you'd made the right decision enrolling at Topeka Collegiate?
Yeah, so when we first were exploring Topeka Collegiate, we had Fallon come visit for a day. Again, she was very timid. So we dropped her off, and I'm like freaking out because that was just not something that I did with Fallon. I was overprotective. But I dropped her off, and then I come and pick her up, and she's all smiles, and she's like, I can't wait to go back. Can I come back tomorrow and come for a full day? She was just so excited, and we knew that this is where our heart was. Like, her heart was in it, we were in it, and we were ready to take that plunge.
That's awesome. That's one of the things that's hard this year, is not being able to have students shadow for a day or visit for a few hours. And so it is good to hear your experience for parents that wish that for their own little ones right now, and they can't do that. So thank you. The other question that I was trying to imagine is, if you were a parent that couldn't get that tour, couldn't have that visit time you just talked about, what would you want parents to know or hear from you, parent to parent?
I think just, it's an investment. Like, your kids' education, just how they grow, it's an investment, and it's one that I think that we would do over and over again, because it really does set them up for just having a wonderful life in adulthood, early childhood, adolescence, because we are seeing so many things that are affecting kids now. And I do believe that Topeka Collegiate sets kids up to be the best possible selves that they could be. And it starts with the teachers, it starts with the community. Fallon's class, the 3rd grade class, we know all the parents, we know all the kids by name, they know us. It's a lot that I don't think that we would get in the school districts here. I know we didn't get it when we were growing up, and we grew up in a very small town. So it is a very important thing for us that we just love the community. We love everything about it. And it's something that I think a lot of people should be able to experience as well.
Thank you. Yeah, you remind me of how it seems like parents, of course, come to find the right school for their child, and in turn find a community for themselves too. And everybody's on text chains, and they're reminding each other of deadlines, or kind of working together on how they collaborate with the teacher, which is what we want. Everybody's a team working together. Well, thank you so much for sharing your experience, and thank you, Mrs. Rippel, for sharing the pre-kindergarten experience, and thank you, Dr. Rance, for giving us perspective on the history of Topeka Collegiate and our mission that we're still fulfilling today. As we begin to wrap up, I do want to share this checklist with you. I know it's a lot of words, so I invite you to send me an email. My email's there on the left side of the screen, and I can email you this enrollment checklist. But I share it to highlight that there's a process of making sure that we're the right fit, for you, that you're the right fit for us, and that begins with completing an inquiry form. And then when you're ready, submitting a short application, an application fee, non-refundable, $150. And then at that point, we schedule an assessment. Doing that assessment just makes sure that your child's ready for pre-K and ready for kind of the activities and structure and freedom and that Mrs. Rippel described. And then once we make sure that it's the right fit and the right time, then we would send you a contract. That contract would be prorated if we're talking about just the spring semester. And again, I'm happy to email you the tuition sheet or anything you need to just give you more information as you make this important decision and the right place for your child to begin that education career. So one more time, here's my contact info. And then here's a really excellent photo where teachers proactively took the time to go outside on a beautiful day and students got to play in the leaves. These are the moments that are hard to capture in an overview video like this. There's so many moments. So if you follow us on our Facebook page, Topeka Collegiate, you can see photos like this, but there's nothing like hearing the stories firsthand. So I hope this evening was helpful for you. As we wrap up, is there anything anybody wants to add before we say goodbye?
It's just hard for me to imagine a shy Fallon. I'm just still.
I know.
She was in my theater club last year, and I'm just scratching my head. That's amazing. She's really blossomed since she's been here. That's so
She has. Yeah.
She's
Miss Berryman was
having
just
my
saying-
job, I think.
Well, thank you all for your time. And again, those of you watching that are considering Topeka Collegiate, please follow up with your questions. We know it's a big decision. And to those of you who helped create this presentation, thanks for your time. It means so much to us. All right, take care, and I hope to hear from you soon. Bye.
Thanks, Brittany.
Thank you.